November 15th, 2008. A couple years ago, a group of us had the opportunity to talk with Donny Pike for well over an hour. So here are the highlights from that extraordinary, exclusive interview. We have with us tonight Donny Pike. You were with the Lettermen for quite a while.
I wasn't an original member. My oldest brother Jim and a fellow by the name of Tony Butala and another fellow by the name of Bob Ingeman started the Lettermen in 1959. They had a hit with Warner Brothers, semi-hit in San Francisco in 1960, and then it kind of faded away. But then they came out with a song called "The Way You Look Tonight" in 1961, and that pretty much started their career. And that was with Capitol Records. Actually, in 1967, Bobby Ingeman, one of the original members of the group, left for family reasons, and my brother Gary took his place, Gary Pike. In 1974, my oldest brother Jim officially left the group, and I took his place in the group in 74. I had actually been singing on the albums all the way since 1970. I remember when at a radio station in Los Angeles, at that time it was a kind of a rock and roll station, KFWB. I think it's all news now. But they had, there was another group that recorded the song "The Way You Look Tonight" at the same time, and the radio station had two versions of the same song, and they had a battle of the bands one weekend to determine which record they'd continue playing. And I was recruited to run around my neighborhood and get all my friends to call in and vote for the Lettermen. And they won. They won that contest, and that pretty much started their career in California. The Lettermen have always been much bigger in the Far East than they were in the United States, but still they had some pretty good success, Grammy nominations and steady work, college concert tours. We were on the road, 250, 300 days a year. In the early 60s, when the Lettermen were real popular, I was, like I said, I was 12 in 61, so I was going to school. It was great. It was a great thing to get the girls with having a big brother that's a star. But music has been in our family all my life. My mom sang on the road for 14 years with a Western group. Did a lot of radio work through the Midwest and stuff with a group called Russ Pike and the Prairie Knights. She was Joy, Sunshine of the Prairie Knights, and just our whole family has always been involved in music. I did over 2,000 concerts, all in just about every state in the Union, and pretty much all over the world, except I never did any shows in Europe. I did Hong Kong, Japan, Philippines, Bangkok, Singapore, Malaysia, Canada, Mexico, Chile. I think I got most of them.
Now you're writing music with MIDI.
Well, I've always been a songwriter. I think the first song I wrote was back in those early 50s and 60s dates. But out of all those years, I think I've written maybe 4 or 5 decent songs. Just recently, within the last couple of years, I became acquainted with MIDI. I never was a great guitar player. I'm self-taught, and all I can play is stuff that I wrote myself. MIDI enabled me to fulfill what I had in my head and be a piano player for a moment, or a violin player, or any instrument that I could imagine in my music. MIDI allows me to do that. As far as singing royalties, I arranged it. I was a salaried Letterman. As far as the public was concerned, we were all three equal on stage. But since Tony was the remaining original in the group after my oldest brother Jim left, I was actually salaried to the Letterman, or to Tony. So my royalties that I do get are just from the songs that were recorded that I wrote. I wrote a song called Thank You Girl that we put on an LP and also released on the backside of one of the Letterman singles. I wrote I'll Be Back and released that as a single, and that's one that was wrote a song called Just Say I Love You in the Morning that was the theme song for a Japanese television show in Japan, and got pulled off of the television show, and by popular demand, and the radio station started playing it. So that song is probably the closest I've had to a hit record. 1981, when I left the group, I got a job with a company called Bell & Howell doing service on mail handling equipment, computer-controlled mail handling equipment. And I did that for 20 years and pretty much just quit music cold turkey. Previously on the road 11 months out of the year and using the last month to record, it didn't leave any time for family, and I felt a strong responsibility to raise my son a little bit in a more of a normal fashion. That's pretty much why I left the road. I wanted to be a dad, to be able to come home from work at night and share my son's growing up.
I grew up in the 60s listening to the Letterman music and went to high school in Neptune Beach, which is on the Atlantic Ocean near Jacksonville, Florida. And I can tell you your music was prelude to many nights, what we used to call watching the shark fights and submarine races. And while I don't share any of your musical talents, I truly am a music appreciator, and I have great admiration for anyone that can compose music, and surprised at my son's own talent because I have no idea where it comes from. But just wanted to let you know how much your music has been enjoyed for the past 40 years by me, and I know the members of my 1966 Fletcher High School graduating class, and thank you for the good times.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. I've always enjoyed my tours through Florida. The audiences down there were great people, great people.
Do you miss people not exactly recognizing you right off the bat?
Actually, being a member of a trio, unless we're walking down the street abreast, we're not really usually recognized very often, unless it's in a town where we're going to have a concert that night. However, when we did arrive at the Philippines, it was different there. It was like when the Beatles came to the U.S. in '64 when we hit the Philippines. The airplane landed, and they actually rolled a red carpet out to the plane with police cars and sirens, took us past customs and everything, and took us straight to the presidential palace. Boy, what a thrill that was. But to have to live with it every day, I don't know, it's a lot of pressure. I ended up homeless for 2 years, living in vacant office buildings and attics, and with friends on their couches, where I could find any place I could find a place to plug in my computer and write my music. Because once my son grew up and got out of the home, I got a divorce. I was then on my own. I didn't have family responsibilities, and I wanted to devote 100% of my time to getting back to writing music and back into the business that I'd been away from for 20 years. And the move that you're talking about, it was pretty much moving around. I moved back to California about 6 or 8 months ago, and now I'm back up in Idaho, but now I'm real happy. I've dined with kings and queens, and on the other end of the spectrum, I've slept in doorways and vacant offices. So it's experience, I guess, that you got to experience life to be able to write about it.
Thanks. I love you, man. Thanks for sharing with us tonight, Donny.
Yeah, we all love you.
Hey, I love all you guys.